Welcome to another Wisdom to Wealth show with Theresa Pellizzari and Whitney Hammond. I'm coming to you live from my cottage in Penetang. Internet is not the best, but we're going to go with it today. So welcome, Theresa. How are you?
I'm good. How's everyone?
All great. And thank you everybody for joining us. So at Wisdom to Wealth, what we do is we talk to you about financial planning tips, whether you are very experienced in investing or you are looking to get more information or you're just new. But anyhow, there is something in this show for everyone. So I'm Whitney Hammond, and I am the CEO of Sovereign Wealth Management in Burlington, and Theresa Pellizzari is a financial security advisor at Sovereign Wealth Management. And today we're going to talk to you about wills and estates. So we would like to help you take care of your money so that your money is not controlling you. So we're connected now to the live, and we're going to stream. I'm not sure if you want to forward yours, Theresa, because it is connected. So while you're doing that, I'm just going to chat a little bit about why do we need a will. This is extremely important, okay? Because I know we put it off and then we do write our will and then things will change, okay? So it needs to be updated. You need to review it on a regular basis and do that with a professional. I'm happy to do that. Theresa is happy to do that. So your will is your last wishes. Okay, so we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and this is your last wishes. So whatever it is that you want to happen, it needs to be written down, because no matter how clear you are with your family and your friends, it becomes very difficult after you're gone to really understand what did she actually mean by it, or he. So one thing is, who will take care of your children? What happens if there's a joint disaster? And you know, it used to be that that was very rare, and that's not the case anymore, right, Theresa? There's been horrible accidents. We've had plane crashes, we've had car crashes. So we need to say, oh, and there's been COVID. I know families where the mom and dad have passed away and the children do not have a parent anymore because the parents had gotten COVID. So who will take care of your children? You'd like to avoid a lengthy probate process, because if there's no will, it will take a very long time. It could take easily a couple of years. So you definitely don't want that. And then the courts will decide what's going to happen. And also, who's going to take care of your affairs? Who's going to be the executor of your will? So an executor is the person, you would have one person named as the executor or a co, and you would have a contingent, meaning a secondary executor in case the primary one says, I don't want to do this, or they're not alive. And so the executor is responsible for going through the entire checklist of getting that job done. And they are paid for this service. So they'll take a percentage of your estate. It's not a very nice job because it's very detailed and it's very labor intensive to get everything done and closed off. But inside your will, you'll be able to say, you know, I'd like gifts to go here, or I'd like a donation to go there. You'd like to be able to avoid legal challenges, because this is a big thing. Estate litigation is, it's a reality. People do contest wills. So you can actually disinherit somebody from your will. You can put in a clause that you've decided that there's somebody that you do not want to have in your will, and maybe a child is getting disinherited. So these things actually need to be written down. Doing it yourself is not really a good idea. So we do know lawyers. We also know paralegals who would be more than happy to do this work for you. So Theresa, you've done a little bit of work to the basics of what to get started. So share with us some of the information that you have.
Thanks, Whitney. Yeah, and what I've come to realize is that people feel very overwhelmed when thinking about their will. There's a lot of emotion, and that emotion gets them kind of stuck. where they don't take the first step. So if you just try to take the first step, set a timeline on when you are going to get through these steps, I think you'll be very happy and have a peace of mind that your wishes will be very clear and the right people will know about them. So, you know, some of the quick steps are getting a list of your assets and debts together. And if you're working with a financial advisor, that's probably already done. Next is to determine who do you want to leave your assets to. Is it family, friends, possibly a favorite charity? So getting clear on who they are. And the more you write this information out, you can go back and look at it again and say, nope, you know what? Those are my gut thoughts. That's exactly what I want. The next would be gathering all the, you know, bits and pieces of your assets, which are your registered accounts, your bank accounts, your tax-free savings, any pension information. So that's all together in one area. You want to make sure that you know who the beneficiaries are going to be. And this information can change as time goes on, but just do your best to get your initial thoughts down on paper. Make a list of any personal items you may have, whether it's an airplane or whether it's your dog's jewelry, whatever the case may be. Make it very clear who you want to have that. One step that Whitney touched on is to determine who will look after your children and help make decisions for them. And I personally found that as to be the toughest decision. So you want to give some thought. And many of my clients say to me, oh, I can't think of them because of this or that or family disputes. Just make a list and narrow it down. It will come clear to you. If you have no choice, it'll come clear to you who that number one person is. And chances are they share many of your values. Contacting a lawyer, figuring out what the costs are, what is the timeline to the process. I personally share a template with my clients that can help gather all this information so that when they go to talk to a lawyer, they already know what they're going to talk about, and the lawyer can just make sure they have covered all their bases. So, you know, don't sit there and scratch your head in front of a lawyer trying to make those decisions. Get them out ahead of time. The simple template will help it.
Yeah.
Next would be, you know, where do you store the copies of your will, making sure the right people know who they are. Another one is Whitney touched on too, who your executor is going to be, someone that is able to help execute your wishes. And at the end of all of that, you can pat yourself on the back and know that you have done your best at that particular time to make those decisions. Just a couple quick stats. 56% of Canadians do not have a signed will. And I experience that with clients, and it makes for a lot of tough discussions and decision making and a lot of extra time. 29% of Canadians do not have a will because they either don't know how to get started. Trust me, the template just takes some of the emotion out, fill it out like you would any other form. Not having a will, Whitney, you talked about that, can cost a lot of money in legal battles and disputes that just don't really need to happen. Dying intestate means you don't get to choose your beneficiaries. You don't get to choose who's going to be your executor. You can't plan the estate and minimize taxes, and you can't choose your guardian. The government will put someone in place to do that. And just a couple of final stats, young people need wills too. A study shows that 88% of Canadians between the ages of 27 and 34 do not have a will. And those are the most common reason at that age is life is changing. You're buying a house, you're buying bigger assets, and most importantly, possibly starting a family. So no matter what age, there's different milestones that happen that make it more critical than others. And so looking at that and thinking about your will once a year and just saying, okay, has anything significant changed, will allow you to make sure that it's always up to date.
Yeah. So, you know, I just want to touch on, you used a word, dying intestate. So it's important important that people understand what that is, because what intestate means is that you have actually passed away without a will. So don't think that just because you're married that, oh, it'll just roll over to my spouse, I'm not going to worry about it. You really need to put your last wishes down. You do not want to pass away intestate, because it really causes a lot of problems. So a couple of things that I just want to add, Theresa. Thank you for that information, because you did really simplify it. There's a checklist. And again, if you want the checklist, fill it in on Facebook or write to us directly, and Theresa will send you that checklist. So just a couple things I just want to share about business owners. Buy-sell agreements. It is so important if you have a partner in business, okay, because you need to have an exit strategy. It's almost the same as when you get married. You know, before you get married, we should have an exit strategy, so it's very clear if that relationship breaks down, what will happen. So the buy-sell in a business is the same thing as, it's not your will, but what it does is it's going to set out, this is what I want to happen. Should I die? Should I be disabled? Should I retire? And many business owners, they don't have it done because, again, it's like, I can't get to this. The list is too long. We can help you with that. When you're a business owner, if you're incorporated, what happens is, if you know about this, is that you would set up two wills. You would set up your own personal will, which will be probated, and then your business will, which will not be probated, and that can bypass probate. And so probate is something that we'll talk about another time, but I just want to just give you a little bit of information about probate. It is the estate administration tax. It's actually called EAT today. It's not called probate, but we still use the old terminology. And what probate is your will go to the court that's close to you, and the courts will stamp this, yes, this is the last will and testament, and there's a valuation of all of the stuff that you have. You know, your house, all your contents in your house will be, you know, somewhat valued in there. But whatever the amount is, then there is a percentage that will have to be paid to the Ontario courts, or, you know, whichever province you're living in. Each province is different, but Ontario pretty much is 1.5%. The first $50,000 of assets, it'll only be 0.5, and after that it will be 1.5. So between a husband and wife, we roll things over, but many of us have parents that there's only just one of them, and so those probate fees are going to have to be paid. So what is in the will flow through the estate, and then that fee will have to be paid. And then the assets will be distributed to the family. Usually takes about a year, because you need to have a clearance from CRA that's the government, the taxes have to be cleared and paid before all the assets can be distributed. Now, there are ways to avoid probate. And I think what we should do is save that for the next show. So that's what we'll talk about. We will talk about strategies for avoiding probate. And there are situations where probate can and should be avoided, just like having that second will. And then there's times when it should not be avoided. And so again, don't take this into your hands as a family just to say, this is what we're going to do before, or you can talk about what you want to do, but you really need to sit down with your lawyer, update the will, and say, these are the items that we have decided that we do not want them to pass through probate. And so we will talk about that in the next show, how you can save money, and how these assets can be distributed with no fees. I've been doing this for almost 25 years, so I've settled many estates, too many to tell you about, and we are able to do that without the probate fee, and we're also able to deliver those checks pretty darn fast. They can be printed within 3 days. So it's good to know this information. So Theresa and I will continue to do these. We're very busy with other ones too, but we need to keep focusing on taking care of your money, and so that it doesn't try to take care of you. So thank you again, Theresa, for your time, and we'll see everybody in a few more days.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Whitney.
Bye-bye.